Hi everyone, welcome to Chinese Anchor. You've probably seen the image of Sun Wukong before, hailing from the Chinese classic journey to the West. He possesses immense magical powers. He can travel 108,000 miles in a single somersault. Defeated the white-born demon after 3 intense battles. Borrowed the Plantain fan to extinguish a fiery mountain, and battled the red boy to rescue his master, Tang Monk. Today, let's dive into the story of this legendary figure from Chinese literature. Long, long ago, in the land of Aolai in the eastern continent, there stood a mountain called Huaguo Mountain. This was a place of exceptional feng shui. And atop it sat a magic rock. This was no ordinary stone. It had been there since the beginning of the world, absorbing the essence of the sun, moon, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. One day, with a tremendous boom, the rock split open. Out rolled a stone egg, which transformed upon contact with the wind into a stone monkey. The moment he was born, 2 beams of a golden light shot from his eyes, piercing the heavens and even shaking the jade emperor's throne in the celestial palace. The startled emperor demanded to know what was happening. His minister investigated and reported, "Your Majesty, it's nothing, just a stone monkey boy in the mortal realm. The golden light will fade soon." The emperor thought no more of it. The stone monkey lived freely in the mountains and quickly became friends with the other monkeys. They discovered a waterfall, and the monkeys made a pact. Whoever can jump through this waterfall and came back out unharmed, he will make him our king. Guess what? It was this stone monkey who closed his eyes, leaped forward, and whoosh! He jumped right in. His leap led him to discover a massive cave hidden behind the waterfall, complete with everything one could need, as if fashioned by nature itself. It was named the Water Curtain Cave. The stone monkey was hailed as the handsome monkey king and lived a carefree life. But one day, upon seeing an old monkey die, he was struck with fear. He didn't want to die. He wanted to live forever. So, he made a bold decision to cross the oceans and seek out an immortal to learn the secret of eternal life. After enduring countless hardships, he finally found the powerful Pupils in the western continent. The patriarch gave him the name Sun Wukong, proven to be incredibly clever. Sun Wukong mastered 72 transformations, allowing him to change into anything he wished. And the somersault cloud, which could carry him 108,000 miles in a single flip. Returning with his newfound skills, Wukong first went to the underwater palace of the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea and borrowed the treasure of the sea, the Ruyi Jinggu Bang, a staff that could grow or shrink to any size. Later, after getting drunk, he was dragged to the underworld. Enraged, he seized the book of life and death and scratched out not only his own name, but the names of all the monkeys. This, of course, led the Dragon King and the King of the Underworld to complain to the Jade Emperor, truly making the beginning of Heaven's troubles. Hearing the complaints, the Jade Emperor initially wanted to send heavy troops to capture the monkey. But the deity Taibai Jinxin suggested, "Your Majesty, why not offer him a minor position in heaven instead? It would save us the trouble of a fight." So Sun Wukong ascended to heaven for the first time and was given the title Bima Wen, the official in charge of attending to the heavenly horses. At first, he took his duties seriously. But when he later discovered this was a lowly, unranked position, he was furious. Pulling out his golden staff, he fought his way back to Huaguo Mountain and proudly declared himself the great sage, equal of heaven. Feeling their authority challenged, the heavenly court sent Prince Ne Zha and the pagoda-bearing heavenly King Li to capture him. But they were soundly defeated. Left with little choice, the heavens offered him the empty title of Great Sage, equal of heaven, and put him in charge of the peach orchard. This was a terrible idea, like putting a cat in charge of a fish tank. Sun Wukong devoured all the large, sweet, celestial peaches. Then, when the Queen Mother of the West organized her peach banquet and didn't invite him, his rage knew no bounds. He not only disrupted the banquet, stealing celestial wine and pills, but also barged into the palace of Taishang Laozhun and gobbled up all the precious 9 times refined golden pills the sage had painstakingly made, treating them like snacks. This was the final straw. The heavens mobilized all their forces, setting a celestial trap, but no one could defeat Sun Wukong. Finally, the Jade Emperor had no choice but to summon the Buddha from the Western paradise. The Buddha asked Sun Wukong, "What is it you truly want, monkey?" Sun Wukong declared, "It's time for the Emperor's throne to change hands. This Jade Emperor seat should be mine to sit on now." The Buddha smiled and said, "Very well. I will make a wager with you. If you can some sort out of the palm of my hand, the celestial palace is yours. If you cannot, you must return to the mortal world as a demon and cultivate it for a few more cups." Wukong thought to himself, "My somersault covers 108,000 miles away. How could I not escape the palm of a hand?" Then he leapt onto the Buddha's palm and somersaulted away, seeing what he thought were 5 pillars at the edge of the world. He even urinated on one and wrote, "The great sage, equal of heaven, was here." But those 5 pillars were actually the Buddha's 5 fingers. He had never left. Before Wukong could escape, the Buddha turned his hand over. It transformed into a mountain of 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, named Mount Five Elements. With a thunderous crash, it came down upon Wukong, trapping him beneath it. He was to remain there for 500 years. Only his head was free. Exposed to the elements, he was fed iron pellets when hungry, and given molten copper to drink when thirsty. Suffering immensely, with the grass and moss even growing on his head. "500 years later, a great monk named Tang Sanzang from the Tang dynasty vowed to journey to the West Paradise to obtain sacred scriptures and save all living beings. The Bodhisattva Guanyin knew the journey would be perilous, and that he would need a powerful disciple for protection. She came to Mount Five Elements and said to Sun Wukong, 'Sun Wukong, if I free you, will you vow to follow the scripture seeker as your master? Protect him on his journey to the West. After 5 centuries of imprisonment, how could he refuse?' He eagerly agreed. That's when Tang Monk arrived at the mountain and removed the Buddha's seal. The mountain split open with an earth-shattering roar, and Sun Wukong finally leaped out. He bowed to Tang Monk as his master, becoming his senior disciple. Guanyin also gave Tang Monk a beautiful golden filigree cap, tricking Sun Wukong into wearing it. The cap transformed into a golden headband, firmly placed on his head. Whenever Sun Wukong became unruly or disobedient, Tang Monk would recite the tight-filled spell, causing Sun Wukong unbearable headaches, and forcing him to submit and protect his master faithfully. On the journey to the west, they were joined by 2 companions, Zhu Bajie, originally the Marshal of Heavenly Canopies. He was banished to the mortal world for drunkenly harassing the moon goddess Chang'e, and was reincarnated into a pig's body. With a pig's head and large ears, a big belly, and a personality prone to greed, laziness, and lust, he was often the first to suggest giving up. "Let's split the luggage. You go back to your flowing sand river, and I will return to my Gao village." However, he was incredibly strong, and his 9-toothed rake was a powerful weapon, making him a vulnerable helper in fights. 沙无将, formerly the curtain-lifting general in heaven. He was banished to the flowing sand river for accidentally breaking one of the Queen Mother's glass vessels. With a thick beard and a silent, stoic demeanor, he was the most honest and loyal of the group. He carried all the luggage without a complaint, the true workhorse of the team. And the Tang Monk's original white horse was eaten by a dragon. This dragon, the 3rd son of the Dragon King of the Western Sea, was also converted by Guanyin and transformed into a white dragon horse to carry Tang Monk to the west. And so, the master and his 3 disciples, along with the white dragon horse, formed his unique pilgrimage team and set off for the west. The most perilous moments on the journey were not always facing powerful demons, but sometimes the distrust within the team itself. This brings us to the most classic tale, 3 battles with the white-bone demon. One day, they came to a treacherous mountain called White Tiger Ridge. It was home to a demon, Lady Whitebone, or the Whitebone demon. She had heard that eating Tang Monk's flesh would grant her immortality, and she was determined to capture him. First, she transformed into a beautiful village girl carrying a breakfast of food, pretending to be a devout follower offering a meal. Sun Wukong was off picking peaches. Zhu Bajie, seeing the pretty girl, started drooling. Just then, Sun Wukong returned. His fiery eyes and golden pupils, refined in furnace, saw through the disguise instantly. Without a second word, he raised his staff to strike. Tang Monk stopped him. "Wukong, you cannot attack an innocent person," Sun Wukong insisted. "Master, she's a demon." Before more could be said, he brought his staff down, striking the village girl dead. The demon used a corpse delivery spell, escaping with her true form and leaving behind a fake corpse. Tang Monk was furious and began reciting scriptures. He started the headache-inducing spell, causing Wukong immense pain. But then, seeing his disciples angry and considering he might have acted out of a protective instinct, Tang Monk stopped reciting. The white-bone demon, unwilling to fail, transformed again, this time into an old woman in her 80s, leaning on a staff and weeping, claiming to look for her daughter. Zhu Bajie cried, "Oh no, elder brother killed her daughter, and now the mother has come looking." Sun Wukong saw it was the same demon again. "You demon, you tried to trick me again!" he shouted, and struck again. The demon left another fake corpse and escaped. Tang Monk was terrified and convinced Sun Wukong had killed another innocent, recited the Tide Fleet spell 20 times in a row, causing Sun Wukong to roll on the ground in anger, begging for mercy before he stopped. Still unsuccessful, the demon attempted a third time, transforming into an old man with a white hair, pretending to search for his wife and daughter. Sun Wukong, now extra cautious, immediately recognized the demon, but knew he couldn't strike rashly without proof. He called upon the local mountain and earth deities to bear witness from the sky. Then, mustering his strength, he struck decisively, finally destroying the white-bone demon for good, revealing her true form, a pile of white bones, with the words "Lady Whitebone" inscribed on the spine. Sun Wukong said to Tang Monk, "Master, see? She was a demon." Tang Monk was beginning to believe, but Zhu Bajie stirred up trouble. "Master, elder brother is just afraid of you reciting the spell. He used magic to turn the person's body into bones to trick you." Tang Monk easily swayed. Believed Bajie, he wrote a letter of dismissal and adamantly sent Sun Wukong away. Sun Wukong knelt and begged his master not to cast him out. But Tang Monk was resolute, even reciting the spell again. Heartbroken, and knowing he couldn't explain himself, Sun Wukong instructed Sha Wujiang to take good care of their master and warned Bajie to stop mischief. Finally, with the tears in his eyes, he left the group and somersaulted back to Huaguo Mountain. This was one of the most unjust and painful moments of his entire journey. With only Tang Monk, Bajie, and Sha Wujiang left, the road ahead became even more dangerous, as they were about to encounter formidable foes that would even give Sun Wukong a hard time. With Sun Wukong gone, the pilgrim image team lost its backbone. They traveled into a deep mountain called Hao Mountain. Here resided a formidable demon, none other than the son of Sun Wukong's sworn mother from 500 years ago, the Bull Demon King, and Princess Iron Fan. His name was Red Boy. Though young, having cultivated his powers for only 300 years at the Fiery Mountains, he had mastered a devastating power, the summoned true fire. Having heard the legend of Tang Monk's flesh, he was determined to capture him. Red Boy was cunning, knowing force might not work. He devised a trick. He transformed himself, tied his own hands and feet, and hung from a pine tree, crying, "Help! Help!" Hearing this, Tang Monk's companion was stirred, and he insisted Bajie and Sha Wujiang rescue the child. Bajie grumbled, "Master, what child would be in this wilderness? It must be a monster." But Tang Monk wouldn't listen. As soon as they untied Red Boy, he summoned a whirlwind, kicking up sand and stones, and in an instant swept Tang Monk away. By the time Bajie and Sha Wujiang realized what happened, but it was too late. In order to rescue their master, Bajie had no choice but to swallow his pride and go to Huaguo Mountain to fetch Sun Wukong. Despite his lingering anger, Sun Wukong immediately agreed to help upon hearing his master was in danger. He was initially pleased to learn the demon was the son of the Bull Demon King, thinking, "Excellent, my own nephew. This should be easy. He'll surely return my master out of respect for his uncle." However, the Red Boy refused to acknowledge this relation. Words turned to blows. While skilled in martial arts, Red Boy was no match for Sun Wukong and was soon defeated. Unfazed, he jumped on a prepared small fire cart, clenched his fists, punched his noise twice, and then spewed forth roaring flames from his mouth. This was no ordinary fire. It was the cemented true fire, cultivated from his very essence, a fire even gods feared. Sun Wukong wasn't afraid of a normal fire, but he was vulnerable to smoke. His ordeal in Lao's furnace had nearly suffocated him with the smoke, and he'd only survived by hiding in the airy corner, which incredibly forged his fiery eyes. Red Boy's cemented true fire produced thick, overwhelming smoke that immediately choked Sun Wukong. Blinded, and struggling to breathe, Sun Wukong plunged into a nearby mountain stream. The shock of the cold water against the intense heat caused his vital energy to rebel, and he passed out. Luckily, Zhu Bajie knows some first aid and managed to revive him through massage. This was one of the rare times Sun Wukong was genuinely close to death on his journey. Unable to win by force, Sun Wukong thought of a Guanyin. He sent Bajie to fetch her, but the cunning red boy intercepted him, transformed into Guanyin's image, and captured Bajie. Sun Wukong had to go himself to invite the true Bodhisattva. Guanyin came prepared. She used her pure vase, which contained the water of an entire ocean, to first quell the power of a red boy's fire. Then she took out 5 golden bands bestowed by the Buddha. One of them transformed into a tight fleet and settled on Red Boy's head. As soon as the Bodhisattva recited the spell, Red Boy was in such agony, rolling on the ground, that he had no choice but to surrender. Guanyin subdued him, and showing mercy, took him as her attendant. The Sabhana gave him a righteous path. Tang Monk was rescued. This ordeal taught him a hard lesson. He truly couldn't manage without Sun Wukong. With Bajie adding his apologies, master and disciple were reconciled, and the group continued their journey. No sooner had they dealt with the sun than they encountered the trouble caused by his mother. As they traveled, they felt scorching heat ahead. The ground was cracked. A fiery mountain blocked their path. The local earth deity informed them this was the fiery mountain, 800 miles round, with flames reaching the sky. The only way past was to borrow the Plantain fan from the Iron Fan immortal of a Cuiyun mountain to the southwest. One wave could extinguish the fire, 2 would summon a wind, and 3 would bring rain. Who was this Iron Fan immortal? None other than Red Boy's mother, the wife of the Bull Demon King, Princess Iron Fan. Sun Wukong was dismayed. This is just my luck. I just had her son taken away by Guanyin, and now I have to ask her for a favor? She will never agree. But to cross the mountain, he had to try. He went to Cuiyun Mountain and called out politely, "Is Brother Bu home? Your little brother Sun Wukong has come to pay his respects to his sister-in-law." When Princess Iron Fan heard it was Sun Wukong, her rage flared. He charged out with her sword, pointing at him and cursing, "You reckless ape! You separated me from my son, and you dare come here claiming kinship?" She raised her sword and attacked. Sun Wukong dodged and explained, "Sister-in-law, you misunderstood. Your son has achieved a righteous end as Guanyin's Sabhana. It's far better than being a demon." But Princess Iron Fan wouldn't listen. They fought, unable to defeat him. Princess Iron Fan took out the treasure, the Plantain fan. This fan was an extraordinary spiritual artifact. She waved it highly at Sun Wukong, and with a gust of a weird wind, he was blowing away like a leaf. vanishing without a trace. That single fan blow carried him tens of thousands of miles to Mount Sumeru. Fortunately, he met the bodhisattva Ling Ji, who gave him a wind-fixing pill, saying, "Keep this pill on your person, and she won't be able to move you." Empowered, Sun Wukong somersaulted back. Princess Arafan fell several times, but Sun Wukong stood firm. Terrified, she retreated into her cave and shut the doors. Sun Wukong had a plan. He transformed into a tiny flying insect, slipped through a crack in the door, and saw a maid serving tea. He stealthily flew into the tea foam and was swallowed by the princess. Now, the real fun began. Sun Wukong kicked and punched inside her stomach, causing her such excruciating pain that she rolled on the floor, begging for mercy and promising to lend the fan. But she was tricky and gave him a fake fan. When Sun Wukong tried to use it on the fiery mountain, the flames roared up 1,000 feet, nearly singeing his fur. Realizing the deception, Sun Wukong returned a second time. This time, he schemed. He transformed into a likeness of her husband. The Bull Demon King swaggered back, and with sweet talk, managed to trick the real fan out of her. But the real Bull Demon King returned home, heard what happened, and was furious. He then transformed into Zhu Baji's form and waited for Sun Wukong halfway, pretending to help. "Old brother, you've worked hard. Let me carry the fan for you." Sun Wukong, caught off guard, handed the fan over. The Bull Demon King took it, revealed his true form, and stormed it back. This enraged Sun Wukong completely. He and the Bull Demon King, those two brothers, swam 5 centuries past, engaged in an earth-shaking battle over the Plantain fan. They fought from the ground to the sky, employing all their magical powers and transformations. Finally, heavenly guardians and Buddhists intervened, subduing the Bull Demon King together. To save her husband, Princess Arafan reluctantly surrendered the real Plantain fan. Sun Wukong took the precious fan and waved it 49 times at the fiery mountain, completely extinguished the millennium-old flames and summoning nourishing rain, allowing the land to recover. Only then could he ensure Tang Monk's safe passage through the fiery mountain. Alright folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from China. See you next time. Bye.